Hi everyone, welcome to part 4 of the grandfather clock tutorial, and today we're concentrating on the square, clock, face and surround. These are the pieces cut from the white Kraftboard. I'll just talk you through the labels. The CF is actually the clock face support, so that's what the clock face would sit on. You can see there it's just slightly set back, and that sits on these parts, which is L for a ledge. So we've got a longer ledge and a shorter ledge. The largest squares are the back of the clock face, or the clock surround, sorry, that's the frame. These are the sides, and then we've got the top layer and the bottom layer, and there's quite a few more layers in the top layer. That's the thicker one at the top, and then there's the bottom layer, just goes underneath that there to create that beveled effect. So we're going to do what we always do and start gluing up in pairs and pressing them under the bench block while they dry. So I'm going to do that now, and then we'll come back. And once those have dried, I'll go and glue the third layer on everything. And the only thing that doesn't have 3 layers is the clock face support front, the clock face front, and the bottom layer. They're 2 still, and then the top layer is a layer of 3 and a layer of 2 together. So that will be too thick to put under there, because everything at the minute under there is 3 layers. But I have another weight for that one. So we'll let those all dry, and then we'll come back and put them together. Okay, they're all dry, and there's just one thing to do before we assemble it. I like to get the print of the clock faces, and while this isn't glued to anything, have a look and see which clock face you think looks the best, and you need it to be smaller than this, certainly the face, so that if it was too big, or if it fitted exactly the case, you suddenly can't see the detail on the outside there. So you want it to fit within the frame, and then you need to be able to cut a border around it. If these are too close, just click on them. It's a Word document, so you can just press the space bar and it will space them along. So that's the one for me, so I just need to remember that that's the one that fits best. It's much easier to do it before you glue it. So exactly like the base and the middle section, we have the sides that glue onto the back on each side, and we're going to do that first. So we put the glue on that edge, put them down on the bench so that, pick a good edge that you like, they're the same height, and then just, can you see that there? There we go. Hold that on whilst it sets a little bit. And you can see I've left the label here on the top so that it helps you as I'm explaining the tutorial, but I would have normally flipped that over. so that we don't have to paint over that. So put them on the inside if you can, so that you're not going to see them. I'll do the same for the other side. Wiping off any excess glue. And again, if you're doing the stained version, try not to have any excess glue. You can always re-glue something. If it falls off, that's fine. It's better than the glue seeping out and the stain not taking. So we'll just let that set up a bit. Try and make sure that these are right angles. Then we're going to put the bottom layer at the bottom and the top layer at the top. So this is another good chance to hide your layers. And again, we're going to do it so that it's flush. Where are we? Flush at the back, and then we have the layers. Is it going to catch them? There. Yeah, the layers around the front and the side, because I don't know if we can see that in the brown. Where are we? There. We've just got the gradient there on the top. So put the glue on the smallest piece. Make sure it's in the middle, widthways, and flush on one edge there. And then we've got equal distance on both sides. Put that under the weight just to press it down. And then this, the clock face support needs to slide in there. So we want to glue these ledges, there. White on white isn't great, so the ledge goes on there to the back, and it's this front edge that the face support sits on. So we can do those. You just want to make sure that they're not sticking out at the top or the bottom there. If we want to, we can use those clamps from yesterday to go in there and clamp them. Sometimes the clamps might mark, so if you're worried about a clamp marking the outside, get a spare piece of Kraftboard and you can just put that on the outside, and then the clamp will mark that rather than the piece that you actually want to show on the finished piece. So those could clamp there, and then we would go in and do the other side. So of course the long ledges go on the long sides, and then the short ledges go at the top and the bottom. And you could probably get away with just the ledges on the long side as well. There's no weight to the clock face. And again, make sure that it's not sticking out at the top and the bottom, and it's pushed to the back there. Just clamp them to hold them down while they take. If you want to put acetate in your clock face and you don't have to, now's a good time to do that. So if you're cutting it on the Cricut, go and do that, but I'll do this by hand. And if in doubt, always cut a little bit extra, because you can always cut more off. And you could use a ruler as well. Okay, will this zoom in? Can you just see there? The wrong way. There's a little bit of a gap around. Well, that's gone wonky now. My cutting isn't that bad. There you go. So all I'm going to do is lightly put some glue on the edge of this, not too much. And then if you're worried that that's too thick, get a cocktail stick and smooth it out. Make sure it's as clean as it can be. This is quite flexible, so you won't really want to be pressing too hard to get any major marks off afterwards. And then, oh, I just got glue on that. That'll have to come off, scrape that off later. Put that under there so it presses it down nice and easily. Okay, if we get this bit back again now. So this is the back and the sides, and we want to put it onto, this was our top layer and base layer, and again where we put them flush at the back, that goes at the bottom and lines up with the back here, so we are creating a flat backed part of the clock there. That would be the bit that goes against the wall, and then this is the bit where the clock face sits inside. So we want to get the flush on the back and then equidistant there. So we want glue on the top 3 sides. And just have a little look if you need to move it over at all. And if there's any glue squeezing out, just take that off with a cocktail stick. And the one thing that's worthwhile making sure is that that slides in and out okay, so that these sides aren't pushing in too much. And just hold that for a little bit until it grabs. So there we have that flat on the back and graduated at the top and the front. Now we can put the ledge in there, and all that's doing really is providing a front sort of face there to glue the clock face onto. Again, if you wanted to clamp that, you might want to protect the top with a piece of Kraftboard. I'm going to cut out my clock face. Again, I'm going to go wider than I think I need. And always make sure that you double check that you've got your clock face the right way up. That's that way. And on this one, I don't know if you can see that. I can just see the labelling coming through. So I will also make sure that I turn the support over before I put that on. And I've got that nearly just about right there on that side. You can see through, this is copy paper at the minute, so I can see through the light shining through the other side where it's sort of overhangs. It's nearly square. And because this is a white clock face on a white background, it's actually not so crucial. If you were doing it on a wooden background, you'd probably want to be a little bit more exacting with your measurements. And this one hasn't got any hands, so you could, if you wanted, or you had some hands, sort of three-dimensional ones in metal, you could put those on here now to give it that three-dimensional look. Or we've got a printed out hand there, so that's up to you. I'm going to glue this on there now. And I did, for my sort of the non-tutorial versions, use photo paper, printing paper, that's it. It's a little bit thicker and it has a nice soft luster on it, and that helps the colours come out a little better, I felt. So I'm going to press that under there. You can also use a brayer if you want to make sure it's dead flat. And then let that dry. Okay, so I'm just going to, while I'm here and it's annoying me, I've cut a tiny piece of craftboard. I'm going to glue that over there. It will quickly hide that label and save me having to keep going over and painting it. So that's just stuck in there now. All you've got to make sure is it doesn't stick out beyond these pieces. So that's in there. And we're kind of at the stage now that if you wanted to paint your clock another colour, this is probably the best time to do it. And in fact, actually, you might want to paint the frame before you put the acetate in, because the next step is constructing that onto there. And if you were going to do that and you wanted to have the wired pendulum in, you wouldn't want to be hooking the top of this over in there once you've got this on. So if you want to paint or stain, do it now, then fix in your pendulum, whether it's the wire version, and then to put the hook over the top, or the faux version. And I coloured that cocktail stick with some Inca Gold, and I'm going to do the faux one for this. I'm going to stick that up in there, so I'm just going to get some, I'll use super glue again for that one. So just have a think about, do you want to paint it? And so is it pendulum now or later? Or paint it, sorry, now or later. Get that in there. And hold that while it goes off. Can't really see that very well. I still think that looks really cool. And of course you can age them, and you could make the inside of this bit darker. I'm trying to keep it as light as possible so it's easy for you to see. So that is the pendulum in. If you're going to put the wide one, put it in now, because the next step is to put the top of the clock surround on. And again, we put the glue on the three edges, and we'll be lining the back up so that it's flush. And you just want to, again, make sure that it's in the middle. And it lines up flush with both edges. If there's any glue squeezing out, wipe that off. And if your tops toe in slightly, just pull them out and hold them while they set. So hopefully You can see that there. And depending on, oh, there you go, which pendulum arrangement you've got, you could put that ledge in there or not. It doesn't actually matter because we've got 3 ledges anyway to glue the face onto. So we'll leave that to dry. That's probably, I wouldn't say the weakest point, but the bit that needs to set up the best because it's kind of top heavy. So we'll let that set up and we'll come back again. Okay, once that's dried, if it's the colour or the stain that you want and you want the fixed door, the door front of the face and the middle section, you can glue those on now. So I actually decided I changed up my clock face. I went for a funny one in the end. So to glue the clock face in, we're just going to put glue on the top of these ledges that we put in. A little bit tricky, probably easier to actually put it around the edge of the clock face. And I've only got the top and the side, make sure it's the right way up, the top and side ledges on, not the bottom one, because that's where the pendulum's sticking through. So just put that on and slide that in and just centralise it. You're not really going to see the edges, so if they're, just centralise them as best you can and just press that down while it grabs. And another thing you can do, depending on your door, if you're putting on a flat front door, and you probably wouldn't have bothered making the pendulum in this case, make sure obviously it's painted to, or stained to the right colour, and that can go in and get glued in like that. And that looks quite modern, doesn't it? If you're opting for the framed door, we won't deal with that yet. We'll deal with the hinges and things at the end. But if you're going for the glass with the curved frame, you can use the sort of the frame back, the slightly larger piece at the top. That can get glued in now. So we'll do that. We'll just glue those 2 edges there. And I'm going to glue this door frame in permanently for the middle section, but I'm going to show you how to hinge the door frame or the window frame for the face section. So this is how we just put this one in. They're a snug fit because they fit exactly. Wipe any excess glue off and make sure it's pressed down all the way along and doesn't stick out sort of more on one side than the other. And then I'm going to go straight ahead and glue this one on too, down onto the front. And with this one, make sure that's pressed down, we will put the glue on the frame on the opposite side, so that side, and again be sparing so that it doesn't sort of spread out onto the glass. So that can be a little bit tricky. And try and keep your fingerprints off the glass because we won't be able to clean them up once it's glued in place. And again, this isn't structural, so there's not, you know, you don't have to put glue all the way around. I'm going to do the 2 sides and I think that will be fine to hold it in place. And use a cocktail stick if you want to make it a little bit more even. This one takes a little bit of a snap in place. The more even you can get the edges of your layers, the easier it will be at this stage. You can hear it there, just sort of snap in. Press that down onto those sides. Again, look at the side and make sure that it's stuck down all the way along. And that is that at that point. If you were going to put a fixed face frame on, you could also glue that on now, and that would be it. I think it looks really cute. I'll put that funny face in the PNG as well, in case you do want to make that. But next time I'll show you how to do the hinges and the little doorknobs. So join me again, and I'll see you soon.